So we're going to go in our front headlock situation, and we're going to come through here and we're going to join our hands. So I'm joining over towards his armpit. I'm going to go strangle palm down, other palm up, like this. And then I'm going to come around the corner here. So I'm going to circle slightly. My head's going to go across his body when I do this slightly. Then I come to here. Now what I'm going to focus on is this. I'm going to focus on my quadricep, wedging my hands in position. So my quadricep has to go through quite deep. I'm going to be aiming to point my knee towards his far hip in a moment as I sit. As I sit, I pull everything in towards my rib line and I slightly throw my elbow deeper. So rather than my forearm being on the side of Jake's neck, my bicep just kind of clicks into position, nearly like a Lego block. It just clicks in here like this, versus when I pull here, there's a gap. I want to get all that gap closed down. So now my hand will end up wedged on top of my leg and my knee goes to the far hip. You can see where we're at. I'm going to catch the far hip with my top leg. Now today we're going to play around with 3 mechanics. I actually want to do a bit of a test with you guys, and I want to see which one we think is the best, okay? I think they're all serviceable. I think if you get someone tired, you get his heart rate up a bit, and then you put him in this position. If he stays belly down here, he's going to get submitted. That's what I think. But I want to just play around with 3 finishing mechanics. One is I arch my body away. 2, I do literally the opposite and I take my elbow towards my own knee. And then number 3, we're going to use the arching away concept, but also slightly kind of pulling his neck long, like I was pulling his neck up, which seems weird, but I just want to play around with that today. So we come in here like this and I join up. I come around the corner, my knee goes inside here, and then I do that switching where my hand comes through and I pull everything in tight, and my hand is wedged on top of my quadricep right now. I point my knee at the far hip and I catch the far hip. So mechanic 1, I arch away for the tap. Mechanic 2, I point my knee towards, I point my elbow towards my own knee, somewhat pushing off the hip. And then number 3, we're going to try extending by pulling outwards as I slightly extend away. So one more time from a different angle. We'll go this way. Shaky boy. We'll put that on the OnlyFans later. So we go in here like so. I lock up. I come around the corner and I focus on pulling my quadricep to a position where it wedges my hands like this. As I sit, I go to the far hip and I catch. Mechanic 1 was a oblique crunch towards my, in this case, my right. This time, oblique crunch to my left, my knee and my elbow go together. And then number 3, somewhat of a pull, extending the arm this way. Let's give it a go. So now we've played around between those 3, and I'll let you guys continue to sort of play with each of the options, and then at the end of the session maybe we'll do a bit of a debrief on what we think was working better. But one of the mechanics pulls everything this direction, the other one pushes like this, and the third one kind of lengthens. But when it lengthens, I think this still gets pulled into here, and when you're moving away, your bicep still gets pushed into here. I just don't know if it's as efficient, but let's see how it goes. Now, let's think about this. We can also be in turtle situations. And if I can drive my knee inside here, we can then regress our way back. So a lot of people don't consider this. They think of it from front headlock, but they don't think about coming back. Now, same detail as before. My hand goes on top of my quadricep, then my second hand comes in. I do that same turning and pulling so everything locks in. My knee points to the far hip, and then we lock up. Then from here, we can use any of those 3 mechanics, whether it's here, or whether it was that elongation idea. So this time we're setting it up from a turtle. We're around here in the turtle position. I managed to get my knee and I point it towards his groin. So now I've got my hip wedged in position. I go through here. Remember, alarm bells are going to start to sound, so you're going to have to move through all this relatively quickly. I get my hands connected. I pull everything through tight. I put him in the position, and then from here I can use one of the mechanics that we looked at for the tap. Let's give it a go. All right, guys, now we're back here riding. We're riding the back, and he starts to build up to a 4-point position and pops his hips up. As soon as we feel this, we're going to go over the neck, we're going to slide into position, and then we're going to reboot what we just looked at. And then from here, you're going to have a practice between all of our different finishing mechanics. So 4-point position, he starts to build height, I immediately switch, and we sit. Go back, try not to fall for me. We immediately switch, I get palm to palm, I sit, and then we go from here. And then we're going to look at all our different options. Again, we'll reconvene at the end about which one we think is best. What I do want you to do though, is think about the idea that he wants to defend by exposing his back effectively. And we'll look at this in a moment, what we can do to take the back. But what he wants to do is slip the shoulder inside and then somewhat give the back up. So we want to keep his head pushed down and his armpit pulled up. So this side of his neck is on a lower plane than this side of his shoulder. Because have a look what happens when Jake slips the shoulder. This side of the neck goes to a much higher plane than this side of the shoulder. So I just keep it below each other, if we think of it like that. So the mechanic to actually keep him pinned is somewhat of a crunch and a lift of the armpit. So when he tries to slip now, it's hard. If you don't focus on that, you focus on other things, he slips. So I take my hand and I make a wedge and that gets bolstered. And that's why I like the palm to palm, because I actually need to sort of take a fair bit of his load on my hand. All right, so what are you laughing at, Olivia? Yeah. So as he tries to drive through and slip, I've got to be lifting. Okay, so let's play around with this. Let's go. I'm thinking of it as a stretching, even though it's not just stretching the neck, that's kind of how it feels. But number one is we still need to sort of blend the second option, which is lifting the armpit and compressing the head, because if he can slip that plane and get the far side of the head up, and then he can slip inside. Now what happens if he does do that? What if it just, you do a good job, you come in here, but as you're sitting, he's just driving through and this sort of thing starts to happen. All right, so if we feel this happening, we're looking towards the back. So let's just have a look here. I come inside here and he starts to drive, go, 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 go. And like, if you're really strangling here, he'll have to actually drive through a bit, which is what's going on here. So my bottom knee is in the pocket of the hip and I want to try and pinch it up so my knees are pinched together. If my bottom knee stays flat, Jake will start to run off it here and he could get out of everything. So at least as he starts to present, his body will come into this posture rather than being flat, so it's easy to pinch your knees together. If he was still flat with the mat, square with the mat, you won't be able to pinch your knee to the ceiling, but you'll be able to strangle him. So as he throws his hips through, there's no reason why you can't start to pinch your knees together, which is the beginning of back taking. Now from here, I'm gonna start to go towards an underhook and a wrist, and then around the head, like so. So I'm gonna come out of the strangle, and then when you start to throw hooks in, or you may even find an opportunity just to extend the bottom hook and put your bottom hook in, and then we build up from there. So it's relatively simple, but probably the knee pinch is the main detail, I think. Was there a wet patch from you guys? It's you. It's not me. So we come around the corner here, and as I go into my strangle, he starts to sit. So still try to strangle him so he actually has to labor pretty hard, and then pinch your knees together. I mean, I've thrown my foot to the far hip, so I can actually connect my heel and knee here. This is great. If your foot was down here, just pinch your knees. If you're here, fantastic. I come out, and I go looking for some type of control here. Around the head, bottom hook can punch through, and then we're in. Let's give it a go. Okay, so we're getting somewhere now. We're understanding the idea behind this particular strangle. It's not a guillotine, it's a Kata Gatame, because we're squeezing in like this. Guillotine, I would just be compressing his chin like this for the finish. So it's different to an arm in guillotine. Arm in guillotine, I would have his arm around the body. Now, what can start to happen sometimes is that as you go to do this, they start to tilt down onto their side real early. And this sort of thing starts to happen where you start to lose them early. Now, if you never get on the outside of the elbow, and you're in this more perpendicular position, you're gonna find that you're gonna go towards your Kata Gatame, which we know is a different variation of Kata Gatame, where we're joining into our bicep like this, and then going down that path. We're not gonna go to that specifically. What we are gonna go to is the idea of coming up on top in a mount type position. So where we get to this position, where my hip's like this, and I've got my grip here. And I'm gonna do the same mechanics we looked at before. I shouldn't say the same. I find the arching away mechanic is a little difficult here. It's kind of awkward. So I'm probably using mechanic number 2, where I can press everything in like this, or maybe mechanic number 3, where I'm extending. Maybe even the number 3 is slightly hard. Maybe number 2 is the mechanic that I'll use mainly here. Is that strangling you, Jake? Yeah. Good. So my hip is leaning on him, and we're here like this, and I'm trying to connect myself. If I can get my feet to the mat, very good, and then everything comes across. So what I'm not doing, I'm not compressing his chin like this, I'm still pushing this way. Okay, so however it happened, and sometimes Ethan's really good at this, where he'll throw himself into this position from like a anaconda type attack. Same details before. Now, if he goes back to his belly because he doesn't like what's going on, then we can reboot all the other options we looked at earlier. So whether he dragged you over, no, this kind of sucks. Whether he dragged you over when you were more around the corner here and dragged you all the way to here, or whether you were out here taking away, and you could backwards roll yourself into position and then work from here. Either way, same detail as before. We're looking at a mounted variation. Let's give this a go. Seated Kata Gatame, and we kind of labeled them 1, 2, 3 for finisher mechanics. And we looked at the idea of stretching away from the artery for one option like this. We looked at compressing in like this, and then we looked at an option where I somewhat stretch the body out. We'll just don't feel peer pressure that the person next to you answers a certain way. I'm just interested. We'll just real quick just go through and see whether anyone had some major preferences. I don't know if I have a major preference personally, but I'll continue to play around with these. Did you have anything, Suppo?
What's that?
Did you have a preference?
I think number 3 is the best.
Number 3.
Yeah, number 3 with the pushing the wrist up as well.
Yeah, lifting the wrist. Yeah, I think that's a fair statement. So I think if you don't lift that wrist and drop the head, that they can always slip. So I think that's a prerequisite. What did you think?
Right, same with Dave, yeah. The lifting is very crucial.
Livy?
I like number 1.
Okay, yeah, the old school extension away. Cool. Could be arm length as well. Doctor? You have to like what she liked, don't you? Whatever Olivia said.
I didn't have like a real preference.
Didn't have a favourite, yep.
Safe hands up.
Are you on low power mode? Or?
I prefer the extension.
Yeah, okay, yep.
That works for me.
Yeah, extension.
Extension. 3, yep. 3. Oh, okay. Following the queen, nice, Lee. Good. Little bit of white knighting, that was nice. That was good. She'll remember that.
Can I change my answer?
You can change your answer, yep. Number 2, Brett, yep.
I don't know which number it was, but the extension one?
Yeah, the extension one, yep.
Number 3.
Yep.
1.
Okay. Nice. 3. 3. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, that's interesting information. We'll play around with that a bit more. So go get a drink. We'll get some training. Good job.